10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 139. Hey everybody, welcome back to the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, our first episode in 2019. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hope you had fantastic holidays and a very, very happy New Year. We are very pleased to be back here, 2019, excited for the year ahead. And we're going to continue today with our series on metronome games. We're going to get progressively more difficult here. Before we jump into the show, just wanted to let you know that you can get the PDF to this episode and every single episode we've ever done over at our Patreon page. You can find those by going to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, and that will bring you over to a place where you can support us with your hard-earned money. $3 a month is all it takes to get access to all of those PDFs, and we truly appreciate everybody over there. We're going to try to grow that community in 2019. We're going to have some brand new stuff coming at you in terms of benefits for Patreon members on top of the already incredible benefits that we have in place right now. So it's just going to keep getting better and better. If you've been waiting to support us, now would be the time to do it. All right, let's jump into today's episode. So last week we talked about some kind of basic stuff that you could do with the metronome to get you started really thinking about this incredibly important tool that we have in our toolbox when it comes to practicing. We talked about the fact that even if you are a horn player, even if you're not a member of the rhythm section, having good and solid time is absolutely imperative. Nobody wants to play with somebody that doesn't have good time. And a lot of us think that that's only for drummers and bass players. Not the case. That is true for all of us. So what we did last week was we wrote out a simple sort of little 4-line 2-5-1 lick. This week we're going to get into a little bit more extended stuff, and we're going to make the stuff that we do with the metronome a little bit more difficult. So if you're still working on the material from last week, keep working on it until you feel like you have it totally down before you go on to this stuff. This stuff is going to be much more difficult, so keep that in mind. And if you can't perform this faithfully, then just wait. Give yourself a little bit more practice with the more simple stuff before you jump into this. But what we're going to work on today is having the metronome click only once per measure. And we're going to shift that one click around to some different places that are going to force us to feel a strong beat and develop a little bit of flexibility in different parts of the measure. So what I've done for this week's PDF, and I highly suggest doing this because what it does is it takes one aspect of playing with a metronome out of it, which is being creative with your notes. When we're working on time, sometimes what we can do is remove the harmonic element from things and just work on rhythms. We don't need to be working on everything all at once. We can just focus in on our time and nothing else. So I've written a little 8-bar etude that stays on one note and actually just changes rhythms on us, so that we don't have to think about the different ranges of our instrument. We don't have to think about coming up with something, genius harmonically. All we're really worried about is placing the notes in the right place and focusing on working with that metronome, okay? So what we're going to start by doing is we're going to have the metronome click once per measure on beat 1. That's the logical place to start because we can all kind of feel beat 1 as that strong beat in the measure. I don't think we're going to have too much trouble doing that. Now, here's why only one click per measure is so tough, is because the less feedback the metronome gives us, the tougher it is, right? It would be like driving somewhere, and at the beginning of your 300-mile drive, there's one sign that gives you all of the directions on where you're going to go. That's going to be really tough. Imagine if the sign said, in 117.3 miles, take a left onto this street, and then in another 33.8 miles, if there was only one sign and it happened at the beginning of your drive, that would be really, really difficult to keep track of all that as you go along, right? Now, we're used to having signs that say, your next exit is in 1 mile. Your next exit is in a half mile. We're used to having GPS on our cell phone that tells us exactly when to take the turn. Now, that's like having the metronome on all 4 beats. This is a heck of a lot trickier. That metronome is going to say, here's beat 1, now you're on your own until the next beat 1. So you might notice that you're really bad at this. When I first started working on this, that's what I noticed, but you can't let it get to you. You've got to just keep going and keep trying, and it will get better. It's just like anything else that we work on our instrument. We're really, really horrible at it at first, and then it keeps getting better and better and better. So check out what this little 8-bar melody, I guess you could call it a melody. It's only on 1 note, but the rhythmic elements to it would make it a melody. So here we go. Here's the 8-bar exercise that I've written for you this week, and this is with the metronome on beat 1. Now I'm setting the metronome on beat 1 at the tempo of 40. So if you think about it, that means quarter note equals 160. Now you can set the metronome at whatever you want, but I suggest starting with it really slow. There are lower limits to the metronome, so this is one thing that you can't work on, below 100. That's going to be really hard. I don't know of many metronomes that go below 30, but if you find one, great, go for it. I'm going to set mine at 40, which means the tempo comes out to 160 BPM, and this is with the metronome on beat 1 only. Check it out. So let me point out some of my own inconsistencies so you could see how I would evaluate myself in the practice room. I was laying back, especially in the 3rd and 4th measures, I was laying back way too far, almost bordering on falling behind. So that's something that I have to work on is evening everything in the measure out. I think on certain rhythms, I have a tendency to lay back more. And I think that's what was showing itself in that particular pass when I was playing at that time. All right, now we're going to do something that's really, really, really difficult. This is definitely the hardest thing that we've done so far, and this is, I think, going to give you a lot of trouble. But again, totally worth working on. So now I'm keeping the metronome on 1 beat per measure, but now the one click that I'm going to hear is going to be on beat 4 only. I can't express how difficult this is. I'm probably going to totally screw it up when I play it for you guys, because this is something that I've been working on a lot, but I still definitely don't have down. So this is going to mess you up a little bit. Let's check out what it sounds like and see how badly I fail when I play this little etude again, but only have the metronome on beat 4. That is really hard, and you can hear there's still a lot of inconsistencies for me, especially when I get to those second 4 measures and things are placed mostly on the offbeat. That's where I start to lose it a little bit, because I have no frame of reference for where 4 is, because I'm never playing on it, and that's the difficult part. So this is going to be a real challenge for you. Here's what you do if you've never done that before. You need to sit with the metronome first, and you need to just get used to counting in your head and beat 4 being when the metronome clicks. I would sit and do that for a while first, make sure that I'm really, really solid with it, because before you even start playing, it's just totally difficult to hear that beat 4, beat 4, beat 4, and it's going to mess with your mind a little bit even just to do that. Not play your instrument at all, but just think about that click being on beat 4. Okay. Now, there's also 2 more exercises that I'm not going to have time to demonstrate here, but you would want to do that 1 click per measure on every single beat in the measure. So after you're done doing it on 1 and 4, then you would want to move it to 2, then you would want to move it to 3. And you really want to make sure that you have those down before you move on to any other metronome exercises. But you could see that this is some really advanced stuff. I think most of us think, oh yeah, we just turn the metronome on, all 4 beats, and we just go. But it's so much deeper than that. There's so much more you can do with that metronome. And I want you guys to start investigating and working on all these different ways that we can utilize this incredible practice tool, this one being really, really difficult. Now, this is kind of funny because as the tempo gets faster, this actually gets a little bit easier because you're getting more feedback from the metronome more often. The only hard part is now the tempo is getting faster. But do something simple. Do something simple like this little etude that I've written for you, and that will help a lot to ease the pain. You're not going to, take out the Omnibook and start playing a bunch of Charlie Parker stuff with the metronome only on 4. That is not a good way to start working on this stuff. Okay, so let me know if you've tried this before. Let me know if you've got any other metronome tricks up your sleeve, and good luck with this stuff. It's truly important and truly really difficult. Don't get discouraged. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. Looking forward to all this brand new stuff that's coming in 2019. Really looking forward to keep making episodes every single week for you guys, and we'll see you next week with a Motivation Monday episode and a regular Friday episode. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.